Micah Parsons is dealing with an L4, L5 facet joint sprain in his back, per Adam Schefter. He may receive an epidural injection prior to Sunday's game versus the Lions if necessary to help him play. Welcome back to Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz, and I'll read it for you here. An L4, L5 facet joint sprain in football involves an injury to the small joints in the lower back, often caused by excessive twisting or arching. It's treated with rest, anti-inflammatory medication, physical therapy, and core strengthening. So not a lot of easy solutions to this, and might require an epidural injection in his back. What's the concern level, Caroline, if you're a Packers fan right now?
Well, it's absolutely concerning. When you hear back injury, at least when I hear back injury, I don't care if you're 26-year-old Micah Parsons or if you're in your mid-30s like Matthew Stafford, I get concerned, right? Back issues never seem to get better. You can heal a torn ACL, knock on wood, wouldn't hope that on anybody. You can heal certain injuries, but there are some injuries like a hamstring, like a back, that just linger around. Look, I'm not a doctor, so don't take my word for it, but it is absolutely concerning, seeing as though I'm not going to say I didn't consider the Packers a Super Bowl contender, but I considered them much more of a Super Bowl contender with Micah Parsons than I did pre-Micah Parsons trade. Micah Parsons makes any team, the Dallas Cowboys included, the Green Bay Packers included, makes any team in the National Football League a better team, a scarier team, a team that is more of a pain in the butt to game plan for than without Micah Parsons. So I think that, yes, this is a concern, but again, I don't know how much treatment can make Micah Parsons that much closer to 100%. Is it, hey, a shot in the back here and some physical therapy and some treatment there, and he'll be just as effective as he was in Dallas? Then sure, that at least makes it significantly less of a concern. That actually makes you really fired up that it can be something that's treatable and he can go right back out there and doing his game-wrecking things. But a back always makes me concerned.
So my level of concern, if I'm a Packers fan, is low today if I'm focused on the right things. Like I'm going to stay consistent with one thing. I sat here and told everybody that Michigan, Ohio State doesn't really matter because what matters is winning a national championship, right? Like in the NFL, if you beat your rival, congratulations, huzzah. What you're really acquiring Micah Parsons for is an attempt to win the Super Bowl, right? So my concern for Micah throughout the course of the season is nominal. Remember, he had to go through a physical to even have this trade go through. So the Packers doctors looked at it and felt fine through the process of his physical. So I don't believe this is something based on that information that it feels like would last all season long. Would I be concerned about week one against the Lions? Yeah, heck yeah, I'm concerned about week one.
Yeah.
Does week one against the Lions really matter? No, it doesn't. So if I'm a Packers fan, my question now is if he only plays 75% of the season, am I still a Super Bowl contender? My answer to that is yes. Like if the Packers start slow because they don't have Micah Parsons, but they get the best of Micah in December, right now, if he's sore, if it's not working right, especially considering the fact that he had no training camp, I'm not putting him on the field. Who cares if he misses week one? Who cares if you lose week one by 40? Nobody. You didn't acquire Micah Parsons to win week one. You acquired Micah Parsons to win the Super Bowl. And I'm not going to do anything to risk the Super Bowl. So coming off of a short camp, coming off of a back injury, don't get the injection. Just wait it out. We'll wait and see week two how you feel and play you when you're ready to play. Because I care way more about December than I do about September if I'm a Packers fan.
I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are the perfect example of that. That being good at the end of the season is much better than at the beginning. But let's talk about that then, because week 4, the Packers go to Dallas. Mike Parsons will be there for that game. So let's talk about the first 3 weeks of the season. They host Detroit, host Washington, then go to Cleveland. I have my questions about Detroit. Every Lions player will tell you, we won those games, not the coordinators. I understand that 1,000%. But when I look at the credit pie for the Lions' resurgence and the Lions being legitimate Super Bowl contenders over the last couple of years, I give Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson, their defense and offensive coordinators respectively, about 50% of that credit pie. Maybe that's fair, maybe that's not, but that's how I view it. So with no Aaron Glenn and no Ben Johnson, how good are the Lions, especially week 1? So I have my questions about Detroit, but we'll put that to the side. Washington. I would much rather face Jaden Daniels with Micah Parsons than without Micah Parsons. So I might say if they don't have Micah Parsons, that's probably a loss in week 2. Then they go to Cleveland. Let's just say the Packers win the week 1 matchup with Detroit because Detroit's still figuring things out, trying to, bridge that gap with losing their coordinators. Let's say they're 1-1 going on the road at Cleveland. That's a game that the Packers should win with Micah Parsons or without Micah Parsons. So if you're 2-1 going into that matchup with Dallas and then you have a bye week 5, I feel pretty darn good, Fitzy.
Now, by the way, you got to bye week 5. Look, no Cowboys fan in the world wants to hear this. No Packers fan in the world wants to hear this. I don't really care about the personal revenge of Micah Parsons versus the Dallas Cowboys. You know what the ultimate revenge for that will be? Winning a playoff game, because that's something that the Cowboys never do. So if there's any chance that this back issue is going to linger, I have no problem sitting Micah until I get through the bye week. I don't care. If I start, because I've got the Browns in there, I think they win that game, even if they only put about half their roster out. So they're going to win that game. Even if they're 1-3 going into the bye, but they get a healthy Micah, they can catch up. I genuinely, I believe that much in Micah, and I believe that much in being patient in this process, because you signed a 26-year-old pass rusher to help you right now win a Super Bowl. Yes, I acknowledge that, but also to help you win a Super Bowl for the next 3 years, since you gave up 2 years first-round draft picks. So you need him on the field, right? And to me, the best way you do that is not to rush him back. Like, while his pride and his ego and everybody's eyeballs and drama may want Micah Parsons to take on the Dallas Cowboys, if I'm the Packers, I don't care about any of that. I care only about what's going to get his health right. And if it's going to take rest, you got to give him a couple of weeks off, and you have to ramp him up. I got an early bye week. There's no harm in my mind with Micah Parsons missing the Cowboys game. I don't care about that. I care way more, again, about having a healthy Micah in December.
And that's when you should. That's absolutely when you should care about Micah Parsons being healthy. It makes me think, though, like, how bad is this injury, right? Like, is it something that's going to leave him out for 5 weeks? Do the Packers feel confident enough that, hey, we can go 0-4 going into the bye and not be worried about it and not be concerned? Because from the Packers standpoint, how can you justify it? I know, if you listen to the fans, soon you'll be sitting with the fans because you no longer will be making decisions for a football team. But how can the Packers make the splashiest trade in a long time? And then how do you justify not playing that player in the first 4 weeks of the season, including what will probably be the most watched game in week 4 when the Packers go to Dallas? Like, at some point, what's a business decision and what's a football decision? Football decisions are the most important decisions that you can make between September and February. I do understand that. But when you're the Packers front office, your Packers, I was going to say ownership. They don't have that. But when you're the Packers front office, how much do you have to think about how this is a business decision?
I don't think you do, because the Packers went 11-6 last year. And as I continue to say, the Lions do have question marks that I think are very real. The Vikings have a massive question mark at the most important position in all of sports. And I have no idea if Caleb is going to work out and this Ben Johnson-Caleb marriage is going to just sink together right away. Like, there are massive yeah buts for everybody else in their own division. For the Packers, They had the least amount of change coming into this. They still come into this with some level of continuity and a coach that has earned the level of trust that he's now getting. 11-6 last year, like, I'm not willing to talk about the Packers like they were a 9-win team last year. They were an 11-win team. They can compete with the Cowboys without Micah. They can compete with any of the Commanders without Micah. I don't think it's easier to beat the Lions with Micah, but this is a team. If we didn't have the Micah transaction, do I believe that the Packers, as they were currently constructed, would have started the season 1-3? My answer to that is no. I don't think they would have started the season 1-3. So if I don't believe they would have started the season 1-3 without Micah, and now they might be without Micah, they're still a 2-2 or 3-1 team through that first opening split, because they are still a playoff caliber team even without it.
Are the Packers now, let's just say with Micah Parsons, and let's say with a healthy enough Micah Parsons, whether that's 80% or 100%, whatever they might be, are the Packers better than the Eagles?
No. No, the Eagles are the most slept on Super Bowl champion I can remember. I know a lot of
Yeah,
change.
like
But
why do we do that? Why do we feel that way about the Eagles? Is
I
it just because they don't
honestly,
have a Patrick Mahomes under center?
Caroline, there are times that I feel like I have to remind even some of my friends that are football diehards, hey, the Chiefs didn't win the Super Bowl last year. Like it's remarkable to me that we have just forgotten about a Super Bowl champion. Most of the time, like I'll be the old man in the room. Like I used to camp out of the grocery store and wait for the football magazine previews to come out. And every year I get so bored because you'd read the previews and it was always like, this team's going to repeat, and it never happened. And I feel like this is the first time I can remember in modern NFL years where suddenly I'm not even hearing repeat conversation for an Eagles team that just, I mean, they took the Chiefs back behind the shed and they reminded them who the adult in the room is. I mean, they just whooped that butt at a level of don't sass me, boy, and put him back out, right? Like there was a level of, oh my God, like if you, to me, it's a stunning level of just butt kicking that we saw, and we're not giving the Eagles nearly enough credit for it.
I'm with you. And I think that's so unfair. I think it is, and I understand, as we say on this show, fair is where a pig wins a ribbon. But it is still just totally so unfair and so unjustified considering how much talent is on that roster. But speaking of NFC teams that I think, maybe it's unfair. Deron Bland just got an extension from the Dallas Cowboys, 4 years, $92 million. And when you look at the highest paid cornerbacks in the National Football League, Deron Bland is right up there with Sauce Gardner, Derek Stingley Jr., Pat Surtain, the reigning defensive player of the year, Jalen Ramsey. Fitz, maybe I'm so off base here. Speaking of unfair, maybe I'm unfairly saying this. Deron Bland is not the same caliber of cornerback as all of those guys that I just named, and he's getting paid like he is. And what's the old adage in the NFL? You can pay a guy a certain amount. That doesn't mean that he's going to execute to that amount.
Yeah, Deron Bland, by the way, one of the worst scoring corners in the NFL in run stop defense. And it was just a few days ago that Jerry Jones was sitting at a podium saying, well, now we can stop the run. I mean, hey, Jerry, pay who you want to pay. Just be honest about what you're doing. Like, don't Wizard of Oz me at this point. I'm paying attention to the man behind the curtain. All right.
Jerry says a lot of things, Fitz.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's the joy of the Cowboys.